Na 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 na. This movie is depressing. After 32 years of the previous movie, production IG took Toy's place and did a remake of the series. This time around, instead of mechanical monster and alien that are threatening the Cyborg team, it's suicide bombers! Yeah! Let me just say the kid stuff has been replaced with adult-themed problems, as the Cyborg team reassembled to fight for humanity in the 21st century. I mean, seriously, what do you expect from a studio who made Ghost in the Shell? When I start to watch this movie, or any of this movie, I try to keep an open mind so my judgment wouldn't be clouded by what the series had previously shown. Especially for this one, since people either thought it was a clever way of introducing the series to a newer audience, or hated it for how gritty it was. But let's look at the good part first. The action scenes in this movie are incredible. The CG really does the work, as the scene looks much grander and more detailed than any other of the movies. Even if the CG is used much during this movie, it ties in and it doesn't become too distracting. As for the design, I like it. It fits with the mood well. Sure, it doesn't look too cartoonish, but at the same time it doesn't look too realistic. It's a nice blend between these two elements. And the design does make the cyborg look like real people, which is an achievement in itself. Now what about the story and the characters? Well, if you expect this movie to be similar to the other movies I reviewed, then you're mistaken. I think there are two problems that people mostly see in this movie. One is that the movie is much darker than other movies. And two, that this doesn't have much chemistry between the most of the members. People may argue that this movie is too dark and too psychological for the series, but if you have ever read the God War arc, then you know it's not true. So it's not about if they can embrace dark themes, but more how they embrace it. I mean, gritty remakes and reimagined have been executed quite well before, but there is always a problem that it might not represent the original or keep its spirit alive. And here, it's close to that problem. Not entirely, but close. As for the characters, this movie felt like The Watchmen all over again, with all the characters questioning their own morale and ending up fighting against one another. Even if this is a remake of an arc, I wouldn't really call this a remake, as it feels like it's already been built on an established version, which is why the new audience might not see the Cyborg much as a good team. Not to mention that all the characters doesn't seem to have a fully developed personalities or have the time to do so. You will understand when you watch it. But for those who does have the time, it really contrasts on how much mature and serious the characters are from the counterparts. For example, 003 and 009 had a more innocent relationship in the first three movies. They were holding hands, hugging each other time to time, showing it off in most kid-friendly way. But here, they definitely have a sexual thing for each other. No use of hiding it, these two have gone beyond the first base, if you know what I mean. And for once, they even discuss the consequences of never aging, of being a cyborg, which is again very fitting, as 009 always remained as a teen throughout the years. There might be too serious about this, but I think the way the character acts are very fitting for a group who has been separated for years and been living in a grey yet subtle world. But what is not subtle is the symbolism. Religious symbolism is at full force in this movie, and it can get very tedious. It's everywhere. Now I know this is product IGN we are talking about, who usually show off their physiological patterning throughout their sci-fi films, but I think they could have been more subtle like they did in the Ghost in the Shell, and not as hammered in. The antagonist in this movie, unlike the rest of the movies before, is actually intimidating. Unlike Black Ghost, who answered to all evil in hearts of men, and Zoe, who want to rule over the universe, his voice is a concept of justice and purity that could strike anyone. It could turn anyone who hears it to be loyal to its bidding and commit horrible acts without them realizing it. That is a scary concept, as it has no specific form or shape. Although the pronoun game is very strong in this movie, the Force seems to be one of the most powerful things that Cyborg has ever faced. As I said before, this movie isn't as lighthearted as other movies. I will not further spoil this movie or bring up any plot element, as it has to be seen to be believed. Especially the ending, which is open to interpretation. People may be pissed since they have been attached to the TV series, but I think it's worth it to see how the concept could be handled more darker. Besides, this is an adaptation of an unfinished arc which was supposed to be the last of Cyborg. so it might not be too bad as people claim it to be. But still, this movie has flaws that won't satisfy the fans. For me, you need to be in the right mood to watch this. Don't expect this to be much of the traditional Cyborg stuff. I mean, this movie opened up with suicide bombing. What do you expect it to be? Watch it if you want to see more mature cyborgs being hunted by angels from the unknown. And since I have now talked about angels, next time, let's finally start talking about demons.